So I wanted to talk about a conversation that was had with my group in our first week of social work training. So we had registered at university, we had started, we were all very, very eager to learn and blah, 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 blah. And there was a lecture, I can't remember what it was, I think it was actually in the core module, like the actual social work theory lecture, where a very middle class woman, she said, we were discussing, the lecturer had mentioned the word normal, and she thought she was being a smart ass, this woman. She went, well, what's normal anyway? And the lecturer fixed her and looked at her and said, your job from now on is to have a very, very, very clear grasp of what is normal and what is abnormal and what is within the range of normal, because you are going to be making decisions on that basis. And if you do not have that ability, you are on the wrong course. And she was put in her place. Now, in the same lecture, we were told that we had to look around the room, and I think there were, I don't know how many of us there were actually. I have in my head that there were 70 of us. I'm fairly sure that there were 70 students that year. But I might be wrong. I could be very wrong. It's a long time ago. And we were told to look around the room. And we were told to understand that about at least one person, possibly two, possibly three, in that room were there to train as social workers with the sole aim of getting access to vulnerable children. And we were told to understand that in every office, in every environment that we ever worked in, that we were working with the most vulnerable children in the country, and that the thing that we had learned is that the only way that we could mitigate the harm that this system did was if we recognised that a percentage of our colleagues that we trusted, colleagues that we liked, colleagues who were successful around us, were there to get access to vulnerable children. And that we must assume in every environment, in every institution, that this is the case. And that those people may be the most popular, the nicest, the most charming. In fact, they're highly likely to be the most popular, the nicest, the most charming. They are highly likely to be the person who spends a great deal of time projecting an image of themselves as good and working with vulnerable children. And we knew this to be true. Now, this is the basis of all safeguarding in the UK. And the reason that we know this is because before my generation of looked after children, it was the norm that children were never, ever, ever believed. And my generation would be the first generation where it was like, actually, you have value, you will be listened to, this is the rule of law, and that rule of law is there to protect you. And we recognise that within that protection we do not have that ability often. And so we recognise that people will do this. This is not unknown, this is not even remotely contested. This is at the core of safeguarding, it's the core of health, it's the core of education. And the place where they do not know this is at elite institutions. The Guardian do not know this. I want you to watch The Guardian and every narrative that they pull about this. Because even if it turns out tomorrow that children have already been harmed by this, and it already is clear that many children have been harmed by this ideology, The Guardian will protect identity, and they will unleash abuse on anybody who threatens that identity. And so will Labour. And I want you to watch how they do that. And I want you to go back to that video in that playlist about protection of identity and how it generates crisis, and I want you to watch that process with the institutions who have pushed this as it becomes apparent of the harm that it has caused. Now, it is abundantly clear that the campaign around Ros Cavini, Jessica Bradley, Amy Challoner, etc. was a direct and concerted attempt to undermine equality frameworks and to dilute and undermine safeguarding. It was directly about getting access to children for many of the people with this. We know that this occurs. We understand this predatory behaviour. We understand it's not a race issue, we understand it's not a class issue, we understand that the occurrence of this is roughly universal. We understand that this is the baseline, that there will always be a streak of extremely predatory people who because they are motivated by paraphilia, which is not a normal sexuality, which is not a normal sexual desire, but one which is driven by compulsion and often causing harm to others. We know that this is the case. And the problem now comes that everybody on the ground knows this, and what has become apparent through the use of the word TERF and the promotion of this ideology, which is an ideology, it's become apparent which institutions are not aware of this. We do not expose children to risk because elite institutions are not aware of the systems they are the political voice for. And I wanted to share with you that actually we do know, and we do understand this. And I wanted to share with you how distinctive it was that those elite institutions do not.